Imagine a single Southern African superstate, one flag, one passport, one currency, and one military. From the resource-rich soil of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the strategic ports of Mozambique. From the vast deserts of Namibia to the financial hubs and malls of Johannesburg. It sounds like a grand, unifying vision, a new dawn for Africa. That's why today we ask, what if SADC became one country? In fact, this very episode was directly inspired by a comment from a viewer in one of our videos who challenged us to explore this proposition. But make no mistake, what sounds like a dream can rapidly descend into an unmitigated disaster. I'm your host, Dadi Pilibita, and welcome to In Perspective, where every issue deserves a closer look. It's understandable why people are drawn to this idea. Colonizers drew our borders, our currencies are weak, our governments are underperforming, and our dreams feel stifled by fragmentation. Merging SADC into a single country could result in a population of over 400 million people, a combined GDP north of 12 trillion rand, control over vital resources like diamonds, gold, lithium, water, agriculture, and rare earths, and geopolitical power potentially rivaling small European blocs, if managed effectively. But here's the reality. SADC underperforms on almost every integration metric compared to the EU. In the EU, over 60 to 70% of trade occurs between member states, creating a truly integrated market. In contrast, intra-regional trade in SADC hovers around 20 to 30%, with most countries trading more with partners outside the region. The EU's Schengen area allows borderless travel and residency for its citizens, while SADC movement protocols and common passport systems are restrictive. The EU's Eurozone, with a single currency, contrasts with SADC's 16 volatile currencies and repeated postponements of monetary union. SADC missed its targets of the customs unions by 2010 and a common market by 2015. The EU operates as a single customs territory with a common external tariff. While SADC's political institutions are less supernatural, relying on intergovernmental consensus and a suspended tribunal with weakened enforcement power. These disparities show that while SADC's vision is grand, its implementation of core integration metrics is far behind more established unions. The foundations for greater unity are there. In fact, they're already present. The BRICS are there. Most of SADC already shares language families like Bantu and Nguni, creating broad cultural bridges. We have shared religions and many deep-seated cultural customs that transcend modern borders. There is already an organic labor migration between SADC countries. Think of the thousands of Zimbabweans, Basotho, and Malawians who have for generations sought opportunity in South Africa. These people are already moving, often ahead of policies. Our economies are surprisingly complementary and not competitive. Each nation contributes uniquely. Zambia provides copper, Angola, oil, Botswana, diamonds, Lesotho, water and textile, Mozambique, emerging gas reserves, and South Africa, robust infrastructure, finance, and logistics. We also share a history of struggle. Colonial legacies, global financial constraints, and relentless climate shocks. These shared challenges can foster a sense of collective destiny. We must also consider the existing SADC institutions, though imperfect, the suspended SADC Tribunal, the under-resourced SADC Standby Force, and the functional Southern African Power Pool, which coordinates regional electricity trade. But the question is not whether the BRICS are there. The question, for any honest observer, is whether we are attempting to build a grand new house of unity or merely constructing a tomb for the aspirations of the continent. A SADC superstate would not be a triumph of unity. It would be an immediate, unmanageable catastrophe. Consider first the political and governance apocalypse. Who runs this mega country? Is it Cyril Ramaphosa or is it Emerson Mnangagwa? Do we rotate presidents every 5 years, or will one strong leader rise and unite everyone? And look at SADC right now. Zimbabwe is battling post-Mugabe instability. Eswatini remains an absolute monarchy with no democratic electoral systems. The DRC is a massive state dealing with armed militias and complex internal conflicts. Lesotho cycles through governments and cabinets at such a dizzying pace that its own people can barely keep up or keep track of which minister holds what portfolio. Mozambique is currently battling an Islamist insurgency. Even South Africa is navigating complex coalition politics, staggering unemployment, grotesque inequality, and load shedding that keeps coming back like a toxic lover who promises to change but only gaslights you and ghosts you just when you've let your guard down. Added to that is also the rising levels of xenophobia. Now imagine putting all of that in one parliament, one constitution, and one judiciary. It would be political anarchy. Any decision would be gridlocked by regional loyalists, tribal politics, linguistic divides, and old nationalist wounds. And worst of all, corrupt leaders would thrive in the confusion. They would hide behind regional complexity to avoid accountability. Now, let's talk about the economic imbalances. South Africa's GDP is estimated at over 400 billion US dollars. Now ask yourself, if these countries became one, who would carry the weight? Would South Africa be expected to bankroll the rest? Would Angola's oil riches cover Malawi's energy deficits? SADC has 16 currencies. Many are unstable, some are outright dysfunctional. Combining them without deep, sustained, and universally adhered to economic convergence criteria would be like tying a speedboat to a sinking ship and expecting it to sail. And what about critical harmonization of economic policy, taxation, welfare, pensions, minimum wages? Would a miner in Zambia earn the same as a miner in South Africa? Would Botswana's carefully managed financial sector survive if absorbed into a larger, potentially chaotic economic structure? And let's consider defense and security. Would this superstate have one military? Of course. But crucially, who would command it? The idea of a general from Mozambique seamlessly sending troops into South Africa to subdue protests is not just improbable, it is terrifying. And in a unified SADC, internal unrest in one region would no longer be a sovereign matter. It would inevitably justify military intervention. We've already seen how fragile the SADC peacekeeping efforts are. I mean, just ask the people of northern Mozambique, where regional forces have struggled to contain insurgency. Right now, SADC doesn't have the level of cohesion, and we're not even close. If the EU is already struggling to keep it together with its shared history, what do you think would happen in a region where 6 presidents refuse to retire? With all this said, should we do nothing? Absolutely not. The current trajectory of fragmented development is unsustainable. But instead of becoming one single country, SADC should focus on becoming a real functional alliance. This means standardizing infrastructure and building rail, roads, and energy systems that truly connect our nations without any red tape, integrating our energy grids to ensure reliable power for everyone, creating a SADC visa and free movement agreements to enable skilled labor and inter-country tourism to flow freely, fostering genuine regional exchange. and also developing a SADC-wide e-commerce and payment system to reduce trade costs and make it easier for businesses to operate across borders. Building a SADC university exchange system and investing in regional think creating shared intellectual capital. We also need to start protecting sovereignty, but aligning on common values. All member states must commit to rule of law, fundamental freedoms, and genuine, stable democratic elections. This is how we build trust, not by decree, but by demonstrated commitment. And in today's global landscape, where trade wars are fought with all the logic of a toddler, and no offense to a toddler, a united, functional SADC bloc could negotiate far better terms with major powers like China, the European Union, and even the United States. There's a profound hunger across Southern Africa for cooperation, stability, and shared growth. This isn't a pipe dream, it's a necessity. But you don't have to build a stable future by skipping on the hard work of nation building in favor of slogans. Southern Africa doesn't need a crown, it needs a spine. And let's stop dreaming about one mega flag. Let's instead build a federation of strong, independent states that cooperate for prosperity but retain their identity, culture, and accountability. Let's not create another empire that falls under its own weight. Let's instead build something sustainable, something modern, and respectful of a deep diversity of our region. The real project isn't to erase borders, it is to erase failure within these borders. The goal is not one currency, but one standard of dignity for every citizen, regardless of which side of the colonial line they are born. If SADC cannot function as a bloc today, adhering to its own existing protocols and agreements, what chilling future awaits us if it attempts to govern as a country tomorrow? Before we raise a new flag, maybe we should start by fixing the bridges between our villages first. This is In Perspective. If you found today's video insightful, please give it a like, subscribe, and share to keep the conversation going. Otherwise, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. Karibonani chipinga chidao, inda.